Hey, welcome to the Mark Prater podcast. My name is Eric Trubetsky. I work for Ben Krebs. I'm his new administrative assistant here today, broadcasting live from California with our favorite executive director, Mark Double K Prater. This podcast exists to connect our global family of churches to our executive director, so you can know a little bit more about him, what he does, and really get a picture into the back end of Sovereign Grace churches and all the things that are going on. So it's good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you, Eric. When was the last time we did a podcast together?
It was pre-COVID, pre-quarantine. Should we be wearing masks on this?
Exactly. That's a great question.
Yeah,
So you've emerged out of quarantine.
I've emerged out of my cocoon, and I am now, well, California has reopened, so we're open for business. We're doing stuff now, and probably going to get shut down any week now. But it feels good to be back, at least for a week. Thanks for letting me guest host. What did we do to Ben? Is Ben in quarantine?
Ben is on vacation.
Are you allowed to do that?
Vacation.
You're allowed to do that during the podcast? I didn't know that. I thought the pandemic was going to be a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Turns out it was the opposite. Everybody thought that. Turns out it was quite the opposite.
It was, yeah. Our guys have been working so hard.
Oh, they have. Hey, okay, here's the topic for today, guys. I think other people probably picking up on this. I've been picking up on this, and I've actually joined the leadership team. I think it's about the top last. I joined the leadership team, and then I got kicked off this podcast. That all happened together. It's probably all linked together. I am starting to notice a trend here that one of the things that we hear regularly from the leadership team of Sovereign Grace churches is calls to prayer, calls to fasting. They always seem to be on Fridays, which is, it's like Friday fun day, and then I can't eat. I got to fast for something. There's one just came out on a day of prayer. Tell me about that. And tell me why is the leadership team doing this?
Well, there's a day of prayer Wednesday, not Friday. That'll be good for you.
Oh, good.
Wednesday, right. July 1st. It's a prayer for our nations and communities and churches related to the civil unrest that we've been experiencing, not only here in the States, but throughout the world, that really was precipitated by the tragic murder of George Floyd. And we, as a family of churches, want to take some time and to pray for real important matters. We want to express our compassion, really as you know, Eric, as a leadership team, our hearts are broken for the effects of sin, one of those being racism that we see in our culture. Our hearts go out to the ethnic minorities in our churches. And here in the States, obviously, our African-American brothers and sisters in particular, because of the experiences they've had in our nation. And so we want to begin our day of prayer, by just praying that God would comfort, knowing that God draws near the brokenhearted. We've taken the approach of day of prayer because that's something we can all do together as a family of churches. And what we've also realized as other organizations have made statements about this issue is that we think it's best that our pastors are speaking into these issues in their local churches, to their local congregations, and in the context of their local communities. We feel like that's a better approach, at least for our family of churches anyway.
It might be, you might say in some ways that might be a hallmark of Sovereign Grace churches, or a distinctive that I've experienced as I've listened to the leadership team engagement is a real faith and appreciation, a trust for the local churches to speak for their local churches into their community, rather than looking to the global family of churches and a denomination to speak, which is curious enough. I don't know what your thoughts are on, Mark, but though most of Sovereign Grace churches are in the U.S., we're around the world, and sometimes it feels a little bit intimidating, odd, maybe not very helpful for a group of American church leaders to speak to. We'll pick our friends in the Philippines, about what's going on particularly in the United States.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this is, this current civil unrest, peaceful protest, may be a better term, really is impacting the world. There are protests throughout the world. So there's that shared experience, but it's going to be different in different both cultures and in different churches. So how it impacts Jose Lo Mercado's church, that is a Hispanic church, or Eric Rangel's church in Yuma, Arizona, that's highly Hispanic, is going to be different than Tim Shorey's church in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, which is going to be different than Dave Taylor's church in Sydney that is at least half Asian. So it's trying to find a way that we can communicate our compassion and the fact that we're aware of this issue without trying to speak into those situations in unhelpful ways, which is why we feel like a day of prayer is really just a wonderful way to do that.
Really, on this topic then, thoughts on the leadership team of Sovereign Grace, which is just unique. If you don't realize that you're watching this podcast, I feel it as a member of the leadership team. I don't know about you, Mark, as executive director, but there aren't many other, we'll say, families of churches that have something like ours, that we were, some sort of modified Presbyterian form of government, but yet we have this leadership team that's been charged with leading and caring for and protecting our union of churches. And so we have this body of leaders that maybe doesn't have peers in other denominations. What are they supposed to be saying, and what are they not supposed to be saying? Just in general, just thinking beyond what's going on in the States today.
Well, you're right. I don't think we have somebody else that we could look to, like another denomination that would have the same structure that we do within our polity. And we're wrestling with that same question. What should we be saying? What shouldn't we be saying in making statements? Obviously, we need probably the input of the Council of Elders and sort of bringing clarity on that. But you're exactly right. I think we feel like, should we be speaking into issues like the one we're referencing here on racism for our entire family of churches? That are located, that's a global family of churches throughout the world. And we've been reluctant to do that, not because we don't care about the issue and we think it's important, but because what is clear in our structure is that our local pastors certainly have clarity and authority to do that. And can I just say that I'm just rejoicing with what I see in Sovereign Grace as our pastors compassionately and clearly, and I believe wisely, are speaking into this issue in a way that serves their local congregation and impacts their community. Our guys are just doing a great job.
I would say the same. Throughout the pandemic, when I got nothing to do and I'm just surfing the internet and I'm looking around at what my friends are doing and where they're hiding out from the coronavirus. But I've just been so pleased to listen to guys speak on Sundays as their services are broadcast, or it's a blog post, or it's something published on social media. The things they're saying, the way they're caring and leading both their church and speaking into their community has been encouraging. It's been a source of joy, and I have been asked a few times at least, what does Sovereign Grace think about these things? I'm like, well, we'll check out the 70 different, 80 different churches and what they're saying just in the U.S. alone. There's good work being done in local churches, which is what Sovereign Grace Church is all about the local church.
And I think if people did just go through that exercise of checking out what 70 or 80 churches are saying, I think they'd find consistency because they're led by gospel men. And the issues that we're facing all come back to that saving work of Jesus Christ that we all want to obviously preach, but also want to lead with as well.
Yeah, amen. Thanks, Mark, for being, I would say, our wartime president, and at least for 2020, just leading us through these things, leading the leadership team, thinking about what we should be saying and not saying, and how those things conflict or encourage and build up the very DNA of Sovereign Grace churches. And just so grateful for you, grateful for all the men that are leading all around our country and the world. we should call this one quits, but thank you. And I'm looking forward to that day of prayer. Thanks for moving it to Wednesday so I can enjoy my Friday.
Just for you.
just for me. Hey, thanks for watching the podcast. And till we meet again, or Ben replaces me again. God bless. Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.